joining us here today, but all the extraordinary challenges you've had to endure throughout this pandemic, and no institutions have been hit harder than our schools and our school districts, our students, our teachers, and their parents. And so I want to thank you for taking time away today to join on this call as we introduce you to some of the principals that are part of my administration, and also feel comfortable with some of our policies. First of all, I'm really proud to have Dr. Betty Rose, our Commissioner of Education and the President of the University of State of New York, on this call. Dr. Rose has been an amazing leader, and we're so grateful to have her expertise and her engagement on this critically important issue. Joining here is also Jim Baldwin, the Senior Deputy Commissioner for Education Policy. We also have representatives from the School Administrators Association. Kevin Casey, the Executive Director, and Cindy Gallagher, the Director of Government Relations, is on here as well. Thank you for joining. And individuals I've worked closely with as well, the Council of School Superintendents, Charles Diedrich. We saw you at many of the times I've spoken to your membership over the years as Lieutenant Governor or Executive Director, and Bob Lowry, the Deputy Director for Advocacy, Research, and Communications, a longtime committed individual in this field. Jennifer Pyle, the Executive Director of the Conference of the Big Five School Districts, and Mark Canizaro, the President of the School Superintendents. So also on this call is Dr. Mary Bassett, who you'll be hearing from shortly, as well as individual who's running my state operations, Catherine Garcia. She's here to answer questions, as well as Angela Profeta, who has been doing an incredible job working with our Department of Health and our administration. So we're going to make sure that we are all on the same page, and one of those is to ensure that we are all committed to making sure that while we had this interesting experiment known as remote learning, which was important at a time early in the pandemic when there was so much uncertainty, the science and the data were not catching up with the reality, and there was a lot of fear among all of us, and our children and parents were really anxious about how safe schools were. But we had to have a shutdown during that time. We had a remote learning. It worked to a small degree, but I think everyone would agree that that was not a successful experiment that you want to undertake again. And the difference between last time and this time, of course, is the fact that so many more people are vaccinated. Our school administrators, our principals, many teachers, trying to get our number of children increased, but we'll talk about that shortly. But that all lends to a very safe environment, as well as the fact that our kids have been wearing masks since the beginning of my administration. Not an easy request to ask them to do. I know it's been hard, and I thought by now I'd be announcing dates so we'd be able to say that we don't have to do this anymore. But I think everyone is aware that this is one of the reasons that our schools are among the safest places for children to be, because they are wearing masks. The teachers are smart. They're working hard to protect them. So you've all been stretched tremendously. I know it's been feeling thankless many times during the last variants, Delta, and now this emergence of Omicron has just brought on all new obstacles. So we continue to see the numbers climb. As I've said in my very frequent press conferences, we are facing a situation that is not 2020 of March. It's not where we were before, because we now have vaccines, boosters, and testing more widely available. So all of you have been on the front lines. I want to make sure that we're focused on this upcoming end of vacation. Main priority is, number one, protecting our children from Omicron, but also keeping them safely in schools. So we know that this is better for students to interact with their teachers. They can stay focused. They can grasp the material they're learning. The strong mental health benefit that I don't think anyone appreciated until this was taken away. And so many teachers now report that the children that they had in their class before have declined, and parents are seeing the same thing. And their own just personal development really took a back seat, and we have to make sure that we continue on the front lines and make sure that kids get the best education. I mentioned vaccinations. We've had more than 3.2 million vaccines administered since December 1st, and booster shots. But here's what concerns me, my friends. We've had the availability of vaccinations for 5 to 11-year-olds for a number of weeks now, and we strongly urge parents to use this holiday break to get the children vaccinated, or if they were vaccinated, get the second dose. We also have to make sure that we focus on this, continue to focus on this until the numbers go up much higher. Right now, we're still only at about 16.4%, which is up 4.5% from last week, but it's still not where we need to be. And we're still not approaching the numbers that we feel are where we should be to alleviate the concern and worry of having our kids in the school setting. So when we're talking about to make sure that children are safe when they return, and we really want them to return on January 3rd as planned, you've heard about this idea of test to stay. Our understanding and our expectation of how a test to stay works is that we use this to make sure that we don't have children unnecessarily sent home to quarantine when in reality their risk of contracting the variant is very, very slim. But we want to make sure. So how do you make sure? We are sending rapid testing kits to school districts to distribute to students and staff. We're doing this through BOCES. There's been a lot of coordination thus far. We know that you are aware of this, but we are providing tests to districts this week. We literally wait for the planes to land. We've ordered 37 million tests with the main focus of getting as many as schools need into their hands. But again, this is contingent on the supply chain working for us. So we literally get deliveries every day. So by the end of this week, it has been our hope that every school district would have an allotment to be able to send home with parents or with the kids with their backpack the first day. So that is our goal. I just need to qualify that and say that is not a 100% guarantee, only because we're still waiting for the supplies to be delivered. And I know at this short moment, last minute, it is a logistically challenging time for all of you to accomplish this. We understand that the tests need to be distributed after this weekend. We really hope that we can get them out to schools to give to children. And it's going to be hard. I mean, ideally what would have happened before they went to school, but trying to figure out how to make that happen. We need permission slips. We have a lot of details to be worked out. But as much as I don't want to put this on anyone, I do feel that you are the best individuals to make sure, because we share the same goal of making sure our kids stay in school. And if we can accomplish this over what may be a challenging couple of days before school starts, but at the end of the day, we can all rest assured that we took every step possible to make sure that we can give parents and teachers the knowledge that a child is not going to school unless they test negative the next day, and then to continue supplying those kits in the event if another child tests positive in a classroom, the whole class does not have to go home. That's what we have to prevent. I know how hard this has been. I've literally had staff in my office when they received a text and they say, oh no, not again. And a child that had been working remotely for 10 days because of a quarantine, literally back to school for just a couple of days, was then told there was another case and they had to go home again. This is so disruptive for our children. It is so disruptive. And it's so hard for the teachers to get everybody back on track. So let's acknowledge the recognition that while there are more cases presenting themselves in children, the ones who are hospitalized are students who are not vaccinated. Dr. Bassett can address this. She spoke about this at our press conference recently. I'd like her to take up this topic and answer questions on this. But I do want to let you know that we think it's really important for the state to at least help you meet the needs of getting these test kits, the rapid testing kits. Again, we didn't even have these that long ago. There was not a supply of them. 1 year ago, we were not talking about rapid test kits. So this is one more tool in addition to the vaccines, the wearing of the mask, and now these test kits that we want to get into your hands and you get them to the children. That is going to make a big difference as we continue to fight this. So we need your continued support. I know you're the ones directly hearing from families and at school board meetings and everywhere else. You are on the front lines. You are also the key to ensuring that people trust the process. You are one of the trusted voices that we need to keep communicating with our school communities, and we'll do our very best to communicate with you. Again, this is an evolving situation, rapidly evolving. I know everyone wants time to plan. The nature of the school system is to have 9-month planning where you think about it in advance and you have dates and everything happens. That is a luxury during the pandemic. We would love to be able to offer that, but right now we're just doing the very best we can with somewhat limited supplies. We're trying to ramp them up, but also as this Omicron continues to spread, we also know based on what we've seen before, this will go up very quickly. It is going up very quickly, but it should drop quickly as well. And that is the comfort that we take from the experience in other countries as well. So know that you have a direct line to all of us. Dan Fuller, who I forgot to mention at the front end, but critical member of our education team. he'll contact you and be reaching out to you and give his information at the end of this meeting. So as we continue through this winter and into the spring, I'm really optimistic that by working together, we can make sure that this year is very safe for our children. It's good for our administrators, everyone who works in a school setting, and our teachers and the parents who have been under enormous stress through all this as well. So just want to say thank you. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what the next few weeks are going to bring, but I know the strength of our school systems. I know the leadership we have in state education, the leadership we have of our health department. I have every confidence in Dr. Mary Bassett and my entire executive team. We talk and anguish over this day and night to get the right answers, but we also know that what we do has a direct effect on your ability to do your jobs, and we're mindful of that. And that's why we want to make sure that we have the dialogue open. But we'll get you as many tests as we can by January 3rd. And with that, I want to say thank you and turn it over to Dr. Mary Bassett, and know that we will get through this together. We're going to look back at this time and say, yes, it was crazy. Yes, it was not expected, but it's something we had to accomplish together. I can't do this without you. And so please know how grateful I am on behalf of all New Yorkers who know you are the frontline personnel, the frontline individuals who are going to make this be successful. So thank you. Dr. Mary Bassett.
Thank you, Governor, and it's really a pleasure to join you all, if virtually. The first thing that I want to talk about is just to reiterate what the Governor has said about the shift to test to stay. This is a strategy that avoids the disruption of sending kids home for those 10 days who've been exposed. We know that there's been very little transmission among exposed kids within schools, so that sending kids home for 10 days after an exposure was just unduly disruptive. We want to figure out which kids may have acquired COVID, and it would be likely the Omicron variant during the school holidays. That's what the idea of trying to offer a test to every child on the first day of school. Obviously, parents should not send a child to school who's sick. If the child has sniffles or any symptoms like that, they should stay home as they should in all times. We don't like to send sick kids to school. Additionally, we want to reiterate the importance of children being masked on return to school. This is based on the concern that during the holidays, kids may have been mixing more and had more opportunity to be exposed to COVID-19. So wearing masks on the first day of school, in particular, I know that it's been a requirement, it's been hard to do. On that first day of school, we really want kids all to be masked, and that message needs to be passed on, that it's for the safety of the entire school. And then the idea is that we identify children who will test positive. That child will stay home, but the other children who've been exposed will continue to come to school and be entered on a testing regimen that allows us to identify an infected child. I wanted to say a word about the recent announcement, the release that we put out on Friday evening, December 24th, noting an uptick in pediatric hospitalizations. We in New York State, and principally this has been concentrated in New York City, but it's been a statewide observation, have seen hospitalizations of children go up. Statewide, it's about 2.5-fold, but in New York City, it's ranging from 4 to 5-fold. The vast majority of children who've been hospitalized have been unvaccinated, underscoring again the importance of ensuring that all children who are eligible are vaccinated. We're doing better at getting kids vaccinated, but particularly that younger age group between 5 and 11. We have slightly under a third who've actually been vaccinated with a single dose. That's 27.4%. Fully vaccinated in that age group is 16% or so. The older children have higher vaccination rates. 3/4 have gotten a single dose, but just 2/3, or a little under 2/3, have been fully vaccinated. So getting the message out again on the importance of vaccination is an important complement of this strategy, but the testing on the first day is aimed at all children. The logistics of getting these kits into backpacks home to parents and explaining to them how to test their children is something that I know that people in the education department have been thinking about already. Now is the time to put those plans into action and try and make sure on the first day that with the kits that are being sent out, that we determine the infected children on the basis of test kits. Keep kids who are sick home, everybody wear a mask, and get the tests out on the first day of school. That's the basic strategy here. The reason for this uptick in pediatric hospitalizations is not entirely clear yet. It's been noted in other states. The commissioner from Illinois has noted that they've also seen an uptick in pediatric hospitalizations. But the answer continues to be using the tools that we have, masking, vaccination, and adding to this test to stay, which will allow our kids to keep going safely to school. Thank you, Governor.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bassett. Now at this point, we've received a couple of questions, and I'd like to, they were provided ahead of time, and what I would like to do is ask Dr. Bassett to take the first two, and then we will go from there. What are the plans for continued universal masking and the possibility of making this a district choice, Dr. Bassett?
Well, I think that the governor has already spoken to that, and I'll reiterate that masking works. And we're in the midst of a surge of a highly contagious virus. And so children should be masked. And we are not considering, eliminating that. We need to focus particularly on that very first day of school when we really want to get everybody masked. I know that some schools have independently decided to take mask breaks. That's not recommended. Universal masking remains in place.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bassett. And the next question I can handle, which is we understand that tests will be distributed over the weekend. It's at least over the weekend and moving forward. And it may not be practical for families to pick that up. We understand that. We're just asking that that all school leaders work as quickly as they can and prioritize getting these tests to kids and to their families. At this point, we are at the end of our time. I'd like to share my contact information so that people can reach out with any questions. It is Daniel, DANIEL, .Fuller, FULLER, at exec.ny.gov. And I will share it with all the associations on the call as well so that they can share it with you. Again, we thank you all very much for taking time from your time off and all your leadership throughout the school year. Thank you very much, and we will be in touch soon.